COVID-19. COVID-19 is what's on everybody's mind right now. I just want to share with you my experience being on this side of the world. Everyone's talking about Europe, Iran, Italy, Canada now is on the border of a complete lockdown. I don't think that anyone is really surprised that New Zealand hasn't really been affected by the coronavirus right now. But it's starting. The other day I spoke with my mom, and she basically told me exactly what's happening in Canada.
So you said everything's closed in Canada?
Yeah, here in Quebec, here in Montreal, not all Canada, no.
Right.
The Filipino Catholic Mission, no mass.
The church
no mass for
and like elementary schools.
Elementary school, the high school, college.
Jeez.
Yeah. But we are doing okay. We are staying home.
Good. You have enough toilet paper?
We can't stock no toilet paper.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Bad news is that 2 people from the French school are positive for COVID, so that means all of us, the kids and the families, have to be isolated till the 23rd of March.
Oh, your sister's online.
Did you hear that?
I did, yeah.
So we're not going to be able to go out or go to work. Like, sure, we can't work.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Love you.
Love you. Miss you. Bye.
Miss you too. Bye. Well, pays to be in New Zealand right now.
So now, being here in New Zealand, I am currently hosting my in-laws. My wife's parents are here. They were supposed to be here for 3 weeks, basically. We arrived on the 12th of March, and they were supposed to fly back to Canada on the 1st of April. And then COVID happened, and it became apparent that Canada was beginning to tighten its restrictions on the country to prevent the spread from happening. So as a precautionary measure, we were able to bump up their flight from the 1st of April to the 25th of March, which was a good thing because not too long after, New Zealand Airlines announced that they're canceling all of their flights from the 30th of March up until June 30. So had we not done this, my in-laws would have been stuck here in New Zealand. So Canada is not going to close their borders to its nationals. The main issue here, or the fear anyway, is that an airline company might cancel their flights. It's kind of ironic that we want them to get back to Canada as soon as possible, while they still have a way to get back. But funny enough, the situation in New Zealand right now is a lot better than it is in Canada. To date, there have been only 20 COVID cases that have been reported. Being fortunate enough to have such a small population and being so geographically isolated from the bigger, from Canada, US, Europe, and Asia, it kind of created a buffer zone before the virus really hit New Zealand. That being said, seeing what's been happening around the world, Jacinda Ardern is not gonna muck around with this. No cruise ships are allowed to enter New Zealand. If you arrived after the 15th of March, you have a forced 2-week self-quarantine. Luckily for us, we arrived on the 12th of March from Australia, so we don't have to self-quarantine. Though if I did have to self-quarantine, it would probably be in this camper van. So we have about 1 more week with my in-laws, so we're going to make the most of it. We had to shuffle things around because we didn't have as much time to go around the North Island as I hoped we would, but we're going to try to do as much as we can. We're just going to take them around and pretend that this whole coronavirus thing isn't happening, and just make the most out of our trip and our time together.
We are currently staying with some friends that own a 16-acre lifestyle block up here in Northland. It's probably the most perfect place to be during these times right now. Our hosts also operate an Airbnb, and they told us that because of the forced 14-day quarantine, that has led to a decline in bookings of their Airbnb. Anyone that's arriving from outside countries are forced to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So that's definitely affected their business in the same way that I'm sure many other businesses will be significantly and severely affected by the whole thing.
Baby, come a long way, baby. You know I hope.
So that's the status update on coronavirus down here in New Zealand. Once Ling's parents fly back to Canada, they're gonna have to do their mandatory self-quarantine of 2 weeks. And Ling and I are gonna have to decide what we're gonna do, because the original plan was to return to the South Island and see the West Coast, which we had to skip from our last trip to South Island. But now, with the spread of the virus, I don't think this is really the best time to be going around. So we're gonna have to also reevaluate what we do for the next little while. It's an inconvenience, but I think as a human race, we have the capacity to adapt and evolve to whatever situations we're presented with. If we're put in that situation, so long as we don't panic. The uncertainty, I think, is really the main thing here, and I think that's really what's affecting people, is that we don't really know how long this is going to go for. Right now it's day to day. Signing out from New Zealand.
You are the